Our friends, welcome to the channel. Bob here. I hope you're all doing well. This is a channel burp video, and it's probably just going to be a load of rambling about all sorts of different topics, kind of related to the channel, hopefully, because that's kind of, I guess it doesn't actually need to be, does it really? I can talk about whatever I like, to be honest. But this is one of those videos probably for people who like to sitting at work and you want something to listen to. Even if it is a load of old smeg. And I'm sitting here and it's what is it? It's October, isn't it? What is it? October the what? It's October the something. And it's quite autumnal in the UK now. We've just had quite a warm weekend actually, but it's quite autumnal. Weather in the UK is always weird. I don't really think you notice any difference, to be honest with you, irrespective of what they say about climate and all that kind of stuff. You kind of, the way that in my time, what I can remember, say 40 years back or so, when I was a kid, generally the weather in the UK goes very similar, with the exception of it maybe the odd year or so. So the autumn and winter is normally quite mild. I can only really remember one really hardcore winter. Two actually, one when I was a kid and one a few years ago before we moved. When I was a kid, I remember that the road, there was loads of snow and the road was like glass from an ice point of view. I remember riding the push bike around on it as a kid. It's very dangerous, with no helmet of course, slipping and sliding all over the shop, but I guess when you're that age you don't care. But that was pretty hardcore. And then a few years ago we had like the beast from the east, didn't we? That was pretty crazy, where our boiler iced up and we had to get some bloke came out who looked, thoroughly smegged off at the fact that he had to turn up and unblock our boiler that frozen. That was fun. But yeah, but apart from the extremes, and also sometimes you get a summer that's really hot. It's normally very similar. Autumn and winter is, coldish, but not really cold. It gets to Christmas time and you think, come on, let's have a white Christmas, let's have a proper winter. But you don't normally get it here. It's generally always been the same as far back as I can remember. And in the summer you get periods of warmth. As I said, now and again it might get like really hot, but that's quite rare in my experience. It's worse if you're living in somewhere like London, but we live on the coast, so generally it's a bit fresher, interspersed with periods of grey and rain and that kind of thing. The UK gets a bad rap weather-wise. Nothing to do with us, of course, not our fault that we're right next to some what's it called, a thing that blows across us sometimes. We're right near it, so that's kind of why our weather is very changeable. I feel really dumb now for not remembering what the name of it was, but it's something anyway. Yeah, it pretty much is always the same, and it's not unusual to have mild winters, going back as far as back as I can remember. And kind of, changeable summers as well. It's just how it goes. But generally in the southeast of the country and certain areas, it's normally not too bad. It's normally like, don't go to Wales. It's always raining in Wales, it seems. We went to the Lake District for a holiday in the summer about 15-20 years ago, and it just rained all the time. So you avoid Wales and the Lake District. It's always raining there. Always grey in Wales, as they say. I don't know why we're talking about the weather, but as I said, it was going to be a bit of a ramble. But yeah, but the point of it was I've got a warm tobacco pipe scented candle going. I'm not sure about anyone else, but I used to have a family member that smoked a pipe, and I love to sit there and just smell the pipe smell. This was when I was really young, looking ahead. Well, like in the future, in hindsight, I guess it probably wasn't particularly good there, inhaling pipe smoke when I was a kid. But I've got a candle it's not very strong. That's the problem with it. There's a kind of like a slight scent of pipe smoke. I used to love pipe smoke smell as a kid. I hate cigarette smoke. But proper tobacco from a pipe always smelt really nice. But anyway, let's move on to some other stuff. I spoke a little bit about this in a stream, but over the last year or so, maybe a bit longer than that, my health has kind of improved a fair bit, so it was kind of noticeable. So for anyone that doesn't know, about 10 years ago now, I fell sick after only ever really having something as serious as a bad cold before that. Don't know why. No rhyme or reason for it. You know, doctors go, whatever, mate. I don't know. That's the one. And I know maybe particularly in the US, you kind of hear a lot of good things about the NHS. And it is great to be able to turn up at the hospital with a leg hanging off. Well, it's probably not great actually, but you know what I mean. And they just sort it out for nothing. But the NHS has got a blind spot, which I don't think they have in America, and that's that the illnesses they deal with obviously are quite broad, but it still falls within a certain bracket. And what I didn't realise before it happened to me is most things you just ignore crap that doesn't happen to you. It doesn't happen to me, I don't care. But you don't realise that in the UK there are literally hundreds of thousands of people that have got illness like me, but they don't get a proper diagnosis. They don't know what it is, so they just have to get on with it. And it was funny because when I first went to the doctors, and it got to a point where we wasn't finding out what the problem was. You then go for a period where psychologically you think, is it me? Is there actually really nothing wrong? And the NHS tries to encourage that train of thought, which is a really horrible thing to have actually, when you deep down inside you know there's something wrong physically, but they try to fob it off as being a mental thing. And that normally happens when they can't find out what's wrong with you. Now I naively thought that when you were sick, you went to the doctor and they did tests until they found out what was wrong. And that's actually it's not the case in the UK anyway. They do tests that fall within certain criteria. So is it life threatening essentially? Is it a cancer of some kind? Is it this or is it that? Is it an issue with an organ, kidneys, liver, blood, whatever it may be. And when they get to a point where they can't find out what it is, they give you the impression that it's like they hit the tennis ball back across, and it's all to do with you. It's quite a terrible thing to happen when your life just changes in that way. And they try to make it sound. I mean, I actually had a doctor say to me that there's nothing wrong with you, it's all in your head, And at the time, when you're kind of vulnerable and stuff, that's a pretty crappy thing to hear. But after a while, doing my own research and stuff, you find out that it's something that's happened to a lot of people. As I said before, there are so many people like it in the UK. But if you're out there listening and it's not happened to you or a family member, then you're just not aware of it. It's really weird. And why I say it's a blind spot in comparison to the US is that in the US you can basically go to a doctor, assuming you've got money, and say, right, I want you to test for this stuff, and they'll do it because you're paying them to do it. Whereas in this country, I went to my doctor with a list of stuff that I'd researched and said, look, this is what people in my position of, and not just in the UK, in the US, wherever it may have been, this is what people in my position of had been tested for, and some of them have found an issue and they've been able to treat it. And my doctor, who was very understanding, I have to say, she wasn't one of those people who thought it was all in your head. But she said, I'm sorry, I can't send you for these tests. My hands are tied. The way it works in the UK is that if you come to me and we do a test and we find something, then we will then refer you to another department. But I can't just refer you to a department with a test without us finding something. It's like a vicious circle. And I said, well, if you don't do the test, you don't find something. She said, yeah, I understand perfectly what you're saying, but what I mean is if I don't find anything during my round of tests, then the likelihood is I can't send you forward somewhere else, because I don't really know where to send you. And even if you turn up at the doctor of your own research, they just say, I'm sorry, I can't help you, and that's what it was. So I spent the next 10 years kind of working out for myself, really, and trying to medicate myself. And like most people at the start, we spent a fortune on supplements and going to see like shaman and druids and stuff, and getting potions and concoctions and all kinds of things, which I kind of liked at first, because I thought, when you first go there, it's like, you play EverQuest and you think, I'd quite like to be a shaman or a druid. When I say shaman or druid, I mean someone who deals with herbs, and it's like herbalist or whatever it may have been. But you take this stuff and you realise it's not really having any effect, despite the shaman or druid saying, I've treated loads of people like you, no problem. And then after a year or two, you think, yeah, whatever, mate, or miss, or missus, or whatever. So you just left to get on with it yourself, which is what I've done. So then when you make progress, you've got no idea what's causing it. What I think might have happened in because for the first 2 years things were really terrible. I was mostly bed bound, apart from getting up occasionally to sit on my computer. And after a couple of years, things kind of slowly improved over the next 4 years. Say, it's amazing how long it's been. It's been longer than no, just not quite as long as when I started the channel. It was not long after I started the channel that I think it happened. But yeah, so you get to a point where it improves a bit, but then about 4 or 5 years ago, the improvements kind of stagnated. I stayed the same for about 4 years or so. But then the last year, things have picked up, and I'm not quite sure what to attribute it to. The only thing I've done differently is that I've increased my vitamin D level by quite significantly, and it's quite possible that that was like the catalyst for things maybe to start kicking in and my body maybe starting to heal itself. I mean, I'm not healed, I still, there have been periods over the last month or so where I was able to go out for a little stroll around on my own. Unfortunately, over the last week or two, things have kind of gone back a bit, and so I find it difficult to do that at this moment in time. So it's not like I'm well enough where I can go out and work and whatever and hold down a job. But certainly there have been improvements, and the vitamin D is the only thing I've done differently, really. It's funny because when I research vitamin D, you find out that it's so important for the body, like even down to like a genetic, like cellular level. But we're all left chronically deficient. And there's no. It's amazing. I'm not sure what it's like in the US, but in the UK, it's amazing how backwards health services are with regards to nutrition and that kind of stuff. It's shocking. During the lurgy, I'll call it a lurgy because you're not allowed to call it anything else, are you? I don't think, or don't dare use the word. There was loads of tests done from countries that are quite ahead of the game, and they found that their outcomes were significantly higher if your vitamin D level was significantly more positive if your vitamin D level was higher. But we weren't told to increase our vitamin D levels. It's shocking, really. It's just take this medication that we're giving someone billions of pounds for. Yeah, so that's all I've done over the last couple of years. It's been different, and my vitamin D level is kind of like 5 or 6 times higher than it was. Yeah, and over that period, over the last 2 or 3 years, whatever it's been, that's where the changes have been. So maybe it's that. I don't know. I'm not a doctor or scientist, so I wouldn't advise anyone to do it. But yeah, there it is. It's there's a lot of information out there, a lot of studies and stuff that show that. Yeah, so that's all I've done essentially. In the last 2 or 3 months, I've changed my diet as well. I've gone to a carnivore diet, and I noticed improvements there as well. Certain symptoms that I'd literally had for 10 years have pretty much gone away, which is astonishing. I don't want to get into some moral debate about what people should be eating or what. I've personally done my research, and my research tells me that we should be. That we're carnivores to a great extent, and I've gone the whole hog and I've become just carnivore, and it's done me a lot of good. Some of that will obviously be down to the fact that the carnivore diet is kind of like an elimination diet, so you cut out all the crap. But there's other stuff as well that has changed. I won't go into because it's a bit personal. That have changed as well, that are kind of not really related to elimination diets. I don't think it's more about just eat as I said, just me personally, what I think is I'm eating the correct foods. One thing I will mention, again, was a bit personal, but over the last, even before then, but over the last 10 years, I've had quite a lot of gut health issue problems, and since going on this diet, it's all gone away, all of it. It's weird. It's not weird. The biggest issue with this diet is the fact that you have to rewire your brain to not believe, but to a certain extent think that what we're being told is not the right thing. So in the last 3 months or so since I've been doing it, I've had no fibre. So I've had no fibre. We're told to eat fibre, but my gut health has been the best it's been since I was a very young man. How does that work? I don't know. Is what we're being told incorrect? not up to date enough? Are we purposely being told stuff? I don't know. I don't want to get all conspiratorial about it, but yeah, there are certain things that what we're told about nutrition shouldn't make sense, but that's what's happening. So yeah, that's so as I go along, I become more and more convinced by it. But there you go. Yeah, it's very simple as well. You know, as I guess diets would have been back in the day. I eat animal fat essentially and some protein, and that's it. I mean, I eat eggs and that kind of thing. I think the idea of the diet is that you try to stick to ruminant animals, but that's not always possible because it gets a bit boring. So I eat bacon and I have some pork and stuff. I started off eating chicken, but once you've eaten like really like fatty bits of pork and beef and stuff and eggs and whatnot and bacon, chicken becomes a bit bland, you know, even like legs and thighs and things where I like to leave the skin on and all the fatty bits. But yeah, it's there you go, that's it. So what's that got to do with the channel? Well, stuff, it's got stuff to do with it, and it's not, as I said before, I was just going to talk about whatever I fancied really. But from a channel point of view, like from a health improving point of view, I'm not sure if anyone else has had this who's been in a similar situation or knows of someone else who's had it, but as you start getting better, you start to come up. I'm not sure if this is a normal thing. I kind of assume it probably is, but you then start to think, well, what's my purpose now? So I've been sick for a long time, 10 years. It's like a fifth of my life, roughly. And I'm not, as I said, I can't go and do a job at the moment, but I've got more energy to do stuff with, and my body feels better than it did. So then what do? Then what's my purpose now? When you haven't had a purpose for 10 years and suddenly you're feeling all right, and then you're looking ahead and you think, well, maybe in another year, maybe next year I can do more again. So then what's my purpose in life now after not having one for 10 years? What do I do with myself? I don't know. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is the channel, obviously, but I'll get back to that afterwards. But other things that come to mind are things like maybe retraining myself to do something different. You know, I've always wanted to do electronics maybe, or video editing, that kind of thing. It's always going to be something from a technological point of view. So maybe I should do an open university course to re-educate myself, or some other course. That kind of seems like the logical thing to do. So if my improvements continue, then maybe I've trained myself to a point where I can then maybe do some stuff from home. That would be the ideal thing. I'm not sure if anyone, again, I keep saying I'm not sure if anyone else has had this, or if you have, you know, maybe there's stuff in this video that people can relate to. But one of the things being in this position as well is because you're not quite out of the woods. You're not out of the woods yet, is that a phrase anywhere else? Is what we say in the UK. I'm not out of the woods yet. You've still got like a motivational thing as well. So I think to myself, I've been thinking this for a few years now, but from a YouTube channel point of view, I've always thought to myself, I'd really like to be able to edit videos professionally. So when I put a video up on YouTube, it looks really good. And I could teach myself that probably just by looking at YouTube videos for the most part. But I'm not doing that. And that's my fault because I'm not motivated to do it, I think. I think it's because I'm not quite sure why. I think partly it's because it's been going on for so long. You get stuck in a rut. And it's hard to get yourself out of that rut. This is a 10-year rut. So I'm walking in the rut and I'm looking up, and it's a big ditch. But I can see the sky, but it's still a long way away. Maybe the incline of the rut is going up, but it's very slow. So it is a motivational thing, and that's obviously a mental thing from my point of view. Well, I should be able to apply myself to do it, but I'm not. So that's one barrier. The other thing as well, obviously, to think to yourself, well, what about if the health improvements are only temporary and you end up back where you were because you're doing too much or whatever it is? That's always a danger. And back in the day when I was first sick, that's what a lot of people said who were in my situation. They said after a few years things got better, but then it got crap again. So that's always at the back of your mind. But it is like a purpose thing. Like what's my purpose in life now? What do I do? And I think it's probably healthy mentally for me to find something to do. Yeah, and I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a video editing course, and that maybe that ties into the channel. The reason that what this all has to do with the channel is that if you've been following the channel for quite a while, you'll realise that things just become very sporadic to a point where there's almost hardly any real content, what I would call kind of like content, not like how I used to do it. I know that the minority of people like my content because it's not scripted. I don't have a thumbnail of like an EverQuest character with my head on top pulling a silly face, all that kind of stuff. I'm not doing free Starfield videos that are exactly the same, talking about how, how that's I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, from a content point of view, and the reason for that is because it becomes harder to justify doing something for nothing. I'll be perfectly honest with you, if you know what I mean. I mean, I've done my channel now for 11, 12 years, whatever it is, and for the most part, I never even thought about any financial gain. But the issue is that when you're sick and you're married or whatever it may be, you're totally reliant on your partner to support everything financially, and that's how it's been for me for the last 10 years. And in the last couple of years, I got to a point where I thought to myself, I kind of made up excuses for not making content, and obviously a lot of it's to do with sickness and motivation, but also it's like, well, can I justify doing it when my wife is going out to work every day to support us and stuff? Particularly is that over the last few years she's had other things going on. She's got literally she's like Superwoman, but she's got so for example, she's caring for a frail, very, very elderly parent with almost no help from anyone else in her family. Despite the fact that she's got siblings, she's mostly doing it all on her own with no help from anyone else. But she's also having to get. She recently started up another business a couple of years ago. She's running her own business, so she's doing all this kind of stuff. So then it's like, can I sit here playing EverQuest doing videos? Well, probably not. I need to be doing more. So my job over the last couple of years has been the home. Doing everything at home that I can, and she's going out and doing the work and stuff, and then single-handedly supporting a very elderly parent. So it just becomes harder to justify when I'm not getting anything from it, and it was a funny thing because there were times, I'll be perfectly honest with you here, there were times where I wanted to make a video just going, this is just effing smeg. I'm doing all this stuff and getting nothing from it, and it was because it was like my frustration of my wife having to take all responsibility of all the financial stuff was coming out. But I never made those videos because I didn't want to be like a dark side Phil, going, oh, I've made this video and no one's sent me any money for it. What's going on? Kind of thing. I don't want to get to that stage. So I gradually stopped doing content. But now I'm obviously feeling better. The channel is still there, and I'm grateful for all you folks for being there, still watching the content that I am putting out, even though it's not the best quality by any stretch of the imagination. But because the channel's there, I kind of then think, well, maybe I can put my time and energy into the channel to make it more than what it is. And I have done some research on that recently, and I'm not sure. I think YouTube, Twitch content, wherever it may be, has reached a saturation point. But there's also an issue technologically, I think, as well, with regards to how algorithms are working on these channels and that kind of thing. I watched a video the other day of someone who spent like a year testing algorithms and stuff and how things worked, and he came to the conclusion that pretty much the success of a single video that he was putting out was basically down to subscriptions, his subscribers. If you put a video out and your subscribers didn't really watch it, didn't comment and like and all that kind of stuff, the video just died. And so because that's how the algorithms are working. So you could literally spend £1,000 on a video and make it the best video, and spend a week on it and make it the best video you can possibly make. You can put it out, and if your subscribers are not really interested in it, then they'll just ignore it. And then that video just gets ignored. It doesn't get pushed forward for anything at all. And that's a real issue. And he also created a new channel. What it seems as though is that YouTube has this weird thing where you get like a new channel bump. So he said that he created a new channel and he put the same video out on the new channel, and it got like 10, 20 times more views on the new channel than it did on the old one. It seems as though because it's a new channel, the YouTube algorithm pushed the video out there for more people because you didn't have any subscribers. But he said he suspects that things will quickly go down again. You know, once you get subscribers on your channel, when your channel gets older, if those subscribers then don't start watching your videos, it then gets pushed down again. So that's the issue you've got with content, and it's not any better on Twitch really. You know, there's a study that says like 99% of people will click on the Starfield category on Twitch and they won't scroll down beyond the first page. They'll just pick someone on the first page who's got all the views. So getting discovered on Twitch is also very difficult, you know. And I kind of looked into a marketing side of things as well, because marketing is something that I've looked into a little bit while I've been sick, just as an educational point of view. And it doesn't seem as though so if you were starting if you're starting a streaming channel today on Twitch, what would be the most obvious form of marketing? Well, you'd think social media, but that's clearly not working because people are doing that, but they're not really getting discovered. You know, so going on to Twitter and just advertising your channel is not getting any traction at all. I guess because algorithms work the same way. I'm not sure if an experiment I did on Twitter ages ago was from I just was doing some research from my wife and her company, and you do something and you put it in a hashtag, and you go and visit that hashtag and your post is not showing up. It's the same on LinkedIn as well, and you think, well, why is it not showing up? And again, it's because if your post doesn't get any traction, even though you've put a hashtag, whatever it may be, it may not show up on that hashtag. It may just get lost because your post didn't get any traction anyway. So if you put a post up and do hashtag whatever and no one likes it, well, that post dies. So it doesn't appear as though what you would think is obvious marketing for a streaming channel on social media, it appears that's also not working. So what do you do? Well, on YouTube at the moment, it seems as though you have to play around the algorithm, and I don't know who wants to do that. Well, some people are doing it, but it doesn't look like a fun experience. I was because what's happening is that like a new game comes out, so Diablo 4 comes out, and all of the gaming channels will put out exactly the same video, which must be really depressing for them. But if it's your business, what else can you do? And these videos generally contain, the videos are always the same, but the title is worded differently, I've noticed. So it's Diablo 4 comes out, 10 things I wish I knew before I started playing Diablo 4. But it doesn't stop there, because a few days later, that same channel will put out almost the same video, but they word the title differently. So the title may be 10 newbie tips for new Diablo 4 players. It's basically the same video, but they're having to keep putting these out for the algorithm's sake, hoping that one gets enough views so they're making enough money and all that kind of stuff. And it's becoming a problem because I've noticed people in the comments saying, I'm unsubscribing from your channel because you did this same video 3 or 4 days ago, and it's not just 2 videos. Like these channels might put out 3 or 4 videos. And initially I was thinking, this is ridiculous. They're really taking a smeg. But then when you think about it, you think to yourselves, well, they're kind of having to do it because the algorithm is forcing them to do it to stay relevant. And as a bit of research, I subscribe to half a dozen really big gaming channels who do this kind of thing. And Diablo 4 came out, all the same stuff. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3, all the same stuff. Starfield, all the same stuff. The Cyberpunk expansion just come out, all the same stuff, you know. And it must be demoralising for them just having to keep repeating the same content. They can't be enjoying it. And so I feel a bit sorry for them that people are getting angry with them, because while I can understand it, I kind of feel that to a certain extent they're doing it because they kind of have to stay relevant. It's like a real shame. And the other thing as well is if you don't do it, you're not... So as a new channel, for example, how do you put a video out on day one that's got loads of good content? Well, you get a review copy. How do you get a review copy? Well, you're popular. How do you get popular? Well, it's almost too late because you get popular already. You know, you need to be popular. It's like money makes money, they say. You know, so you have to be popular to get a review copy. Well, how do you get popular? Well, by doing content first. Well, how do you do that? By getting a review copy. Well, yeah, it's like a vicious circle. And so that's kind of pretty much why it got to a point where I thought to myself, I'm just not sure if this is the way to go. I did think about doing a video series that might have been quite interesting. So like Zero to Hero, can a 52-year-old man, create a streaming empire from scratch? And I thought it might be quite an interesting documentary to document what happens and how it goes. But when you look at some of the algorithms and stuff and what's going on, it's just, you always think that it's just not worth it. And the obvious avenues that you would normally take to make something popular from a marketing point of view also doesn't seem to be working. Yeah, obviously people make it big, but people seem to make it big now through. I've spent probably too much time researching it. I've just been looking at stuff. So I've been looking at quite a lot of channels that are really putting a lot of effort into their videos but getting no views. And I just feel so sorry for these content creators, because it's just not happening. Really professional, putting a lot of effort into it. You even get videos where people are doing like podcast type things, and they're all sitting there with their mics and their green screens or their collection of geek memorabilia in the background and stuff. And there's 3 or 4 of them. They're doing a video, and they're literally getting 100 views, and it's like, Jesus, what? And then when you look at it, you notice that these videos kind of tail off and off and off until maybe they just stop doing it because they're not getting any traction. And the thing is as well is that if you want to be a video content creator, but you don't like the sort of content that is being churned out, that is getting all the views, then where does that leave you? I don't know. I don't think I'm particularly talented enough to come up with something fresh and new that is going to just, is going to take the YouTube world by storm. I've had some ideas, obviously. Most of the stuff I like now kind of involves some kind of character, like role play kind of thing. So maybe these people are like it in real life and it's just naturally them, and maybe that's why they're so good. But I watch reviews of people like Seth. I'm not sure if anyone's watched Seth before. SSETH. I've spoken about him. His reviews are just so witty. Just really, I don't think he's American, but his accent's a bit American. But he's got a real British sense of humour. But I don't think he's British. Doesn't sound British anyway. But his videos are incredibly funny, quite edgy as well, which is what I like. In this milquetoast cultural environment we're living in, where nothing can be offensive and everything has to be nice. It's quite, listening to him is quite good. There's another guy called Civvy18, is it, or something maybe? I think I mentioned him before. He's a game reviewer. He's brilliant. But all of these guys are either playing a character or their natural personality is just like a character, and that's why I think that's why they're very popular. I mean, Seth's videos get millions of views, and he, like the last video game he reviewed was what was it? It was like a reproduction simulator where it was a fantasy game and you run around as some big busted girl, and you had to do things like you buy dragon sperm off of NPCs, and you had to sleep with NPCs to get certain sperm and to open up other areas and stuff. The thing is that the reason he was playing it in this game was incredibly deep from a mechanical point of view. I mean, it was much deeper than it had any right to be. Like, whoever created it, it was like an evil genius, really. I mean, this game had much more depth than pretty much any AAA game that's available at the moment. But it was based around some reproduction mechanic thing in a fantasy world where you went around sleeping with monsters and stuff and buying sperm from NPCs. It was bizarre, but the review of it, I watched it about 10 times because it was just such a fantastic review. So yeah, so that's kind of what I enjoy, but I don't really think that I'm that talent to do that. Maybe I could give it a go. I think it might be a bit jarring though if you try and do that on an old channel, that's where your content has become a certain thing, and then it just in the space of one video it quickly becomes something else. Anyway, that's it from that point of view. It's I kind of looked into, as I said, maybe trying to become a streaming hero, but I just think it's, looking at the avenues of how it would work, it's quite, it's quite difficult, I think. As I said, I'm sure that and I know a few people who maybe just come out of nowhere and make it. Maybe they're paying for views initially or whatever it may be. I think the people that seem to be making it now get exposure from getting, like, from a gaming point of view. If Asmongold watches one of your videos, you're kind of getting exposure that way. So there's one person that I was kind of following who was doing okay, but then they kind of took off when Asmongold watched one of those videos. That's the only person I've watched recently where I can say they went from being just bigger than me, but just like average, to much bigger. So maybe that's how it works now. Maybe you need a sugar daddy to watch one of your videos, and whatnot. Yeah, but anyway, I guess that's kind of the whole point of the channel video from a channel point of view is now I've got more time. Now, as I've got more time and energy to invest into it, it's become less justifiable for me, because I just wasn't making anything from it financially. Maybe I could have done, maybe maybe 10 years ago, there was more scope to grow your channel. If I'd have been healthy enough to invest more time into making videos more professional, whatever it may be. Maybe if I'd have started off with a channel and in a different way, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's life. You never know, do you? And you can't go back. So that's it. I mean, that doesn't mean that the channel's dead, obviously. I would like to do more with it, just from an interest point of view. But as I said, I'm just for reasons that I've spoken about. I just can't justify the time. But we'll see how it goes. I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with some new format that takes the world by storm. One thing I would say to everyone is that I've become less annoyed with content creators going like and subscribe and stuff, because when you work out, when someone works out how it all works, you can kind of understand why they do it. So yeah, just get a bit less frustrated, that sort of thing. That's what I've been doing, because people who are kind of making a living from it, they've kind of been forced into a point where they're all having to do the same sort of content. It's I thought about talking about other things on the video as well, on the channel as well. So I kind of, believe it or not, I started to write a very basic scripts around current ideology, the effect that ideology and intersectionality is having on the kind of media that we're absorbing, mostly around Lord of the Rings, mostly around Tolkien's works, talking about what's happened there. But obviously it's a broader subject and whatnot, and maybe I'll do something about that. But it's difficult because as I said before, you almost can't talk about political stuff with people, even from a commentary point of view, because people are just not receptive. We're all in our own little bubbles. And while I'm saying being in the middle and trying to be receptive of both sides makes me a better person, but that's what I try and do. As I said before, kind of being in the middle is a weird place to be, because you kind of, the people on either side just can't see the wood through the trees, and you can't really have a reasonable debate. And what it comes down to generally is that most of the content creators who talk about this kind of thing, they're very passionate about it. I think it's very dismissive to say this person's railing on Disney Marvel and they're just doing it because they're a troll. No, they're doing it because they're passionate about it. I mean, some of these guys have been collecting Marvel comics since they were literally this high. And then now, when I say this high, I'm actually, you can't see it, but I'm actually doing like a couple of feet off the ground, little kid kind of thing. And they're now in their 30s, 40s, 50s. So these guys are passionate about it, as I am about Lord of the Rings. And we've seen our stuff destroyed, essentially. It wouldn't be so bad if there was any kind of cultural or creative value to it, but there's not. It's just pushing ideology, pushing intersectionality, pushing a woke ideal, that's it. That's all it is. I was watching a video the other day, and someone said that not just Hollywood, but everything that we as geeky, not just geeky actually, just in culture in general. He said like Hollywood has been given, it's like Hollywood has been given a box of crayons with 100 different colours, but they're only allowed to use 3 or 4 colours to create their content with. And if they don't, you know, someone on Twitter will kind of shout at them. So we're in a situation where the thing is, you kind of sometimes you feel like you got hope. Like you keep seeing videos saying Kathleen Kennedy is about to be sacked from Lucasfilm, but she's not. And then you kind of get like, and then there's companies that you think are maybe a bit immune to it, like CD Projekt Red, for example. I thought maybe they were just a bit immune to it, but then you go onto their Twitter page and you see some of the stuff that they're posting, and it's like, oh God, you know. It's sad because like Cyberpunk 2 would have been a game that I would have, you know, it put me to sleep in a cryogenesis chamber and wake me up when it comes out. But I'm looking at their Twitter page, some of the stuff they're putting up, and I'm thinking, I don't even think I'm going to buy it, you know. And you can see it in the game as well, like the expansion. So they've tried to do some stuff on the street to make the street feel more alive. And this definitely wasn't in the game before, definitely not, because I played through the game 6 times. And I'm the sort of person who just walks around the whole of the city on the streets, listening to what the NPCs and stuff are saying. But I've noticed a few times, I've come across an old white dude talking to someone who's not white, going, "Oh, you know, before your lot came here, you're taking all our jobs and you're taking our women and all this kind of stuff." And I thought, oh, that's just like, that is lame. I mean, that's real cringe. For someone to sit there at CD Projekt Red and think, I'm going to put this in, yeah, that's lame. I mean, that's lazy ideological garbage. And yeah, it's all, even the companies you think are safe from it, it's all kind of creeping in, you know, and it's a shame. It's a shame. You know, I mean, like, I kind of, it's interesting, going back to Tolkien stuff, is that, it's like we've reached a point culturally where I think there are some people who don't want there to be like a white culture because they see it as a bad thing. And so you can't have, so let's say if the Lord of the Rings films are made today, what would we get? I don't think we'd get we wouldn't get anything close to the books, I don't think, which is what the original films were. So like a white male centric kind of world. We're not allowed to have that anymore. And I'm not quite sure why we're not allowed to have that, in the same way that, you know, when I'm quite interested in like, you know, in foreign films, international films. And if I watch a film from India, then I expect to see a certain type of thing. And I don't get offended if there aren't any white or black people in it. Because I'm looking for something different culturally. Same if I watch an African film or an Eastern European film or a Russian film. You know, if I listen to, if I'm reading Dostoevsky or Gogol or whatever it may be, you know, I expect a certain thing. You know, I'm not reading it for diversity or inclusivity. I'm reading it to get like a snapshot of what it was like then. And I know it's different in America probably, but in the UK, you know, it's you listen to people and it's like people don't understand science or biology either. These like ideologues, you know, they don't understand why people's skin's a different colour. You know, why is everyone in Wales pasty and white? Well, not everyone, but why native people pasty and white? Well, because it's always fucking raining. That's why. You know, that's the only reason why people's skin colour is different. It's because you've got a northern and a southern hemisphere. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, you need darker skin to protect from the sun. If you're in northern hemisphere, you evolve differently because it's fucking raining all day, and your skin's like a weather. You know, you go out when it's cloudy and your skin's so white, it's like, just soak up that vitamin D for God's sake. You know, that's the only reason. But people associate it with so much other stuff. They just forget about science and biology and the natural world. You know, it's but that's where we are. You know, you can't have something that's culturally just white. You know, it has to be diverse in some way. And it's funny because I started a new character on New World yesterday, and I went to choose my character. And the reason this is related to Lord of the Rings is because Amazon Studios are going to create creating a Lord of the Rings game. And I went to create my character, and obviously, like most games now, character creation defaults to a female, defaults to a woman, or body type as they call it. And I went to change it, and it just said body type. It's like, oh god, you know. And I was thinking about the Lord of the Rings game they're making, and whether you think rightly or wrongly, I don't give a toss, to be honest with you, what you think about it, to be honest. But in Lord of the Rings, you know, there's an emphasis on the race of men. But if you like it or not, I don't give a toss. That's just how it is. That's how it was written. And there are a few key moments, particularly one with Gandalf, where he goes like, "Man, elf and dwarf together, unusual sight in these times." You know, and I kind of think to myself, how would that play out in Amazon Studios game? Would it be, oh, body type, elf and dwarf together? That's what I expect's going to happen, you know. And it's just, we've kind of reached that point, you know, where it's we can celebrate certain cultures, certain things, but we can't celebrate other things, whether it's race, gender, sexuality, whatever it may be. Yeah, but that's where we are. What can you do? I mean, Rings of Power was literally ruined because of it. Most of the Marvel stuff is ruined because of it. And yeah, and companies are just obsessed with it. You know, it's a shame because it's like 10, 15 years ago, there's some stuff that I really would have been interested in. So, although the writing is terrible, because I've watched a couple of reviews on it and they've shown some like footage, there's a program called Robin Hood just come out, and the director he's obviously playing, you know, oh, everyone's a racist kind of thing, because that's always what happens. I'm not sure if anyone was aware, but before the Rings of Power came out, a couple of the old chill media channels released reviews early before the show was shown, and these, I'm not sure if it was purposely leaked or if it was a mistake, but these videos kind of talked about people being misogynistic and racist and stuff before the show was shown. I think this is before the trailers came out, actually, and so it just goes to show that they have this stuff prepared as an excuse before the content actually comes out. Yeah, so Robin Hood has been another thing, and I kind of think to myself, like 10, 15 years ago, if someone had done a modern retelling of Robin Hood, and it was based in America somewhere or wherever it is, you know, and it was based around a black neighborhood and stuff, I kind of think that's actually quite interesting. Or if Hasbro had released a Lord of the Rings card set, and all the characters had been changed for people from different countries, you know, so maybe Aragorn was black and maybe Arwen was Asian or whatever it may be, I'd have thought to myself, that's a really interesting concept. I quite like that, kind of like that subverting something. But subverting stuff now has just become like the norm. And the reason that it's clearly happening is not to be subversive or just to try something different. It's to push the ideology. And I think that's where people are now pushing back against it, because that's the only reason it's happening. But yeah, it's a shame because, as I said before, it's something that I'm interested in, particularly from a Tolkien point of view. But, you know, I don't want to become one of those channels that are kind of angry about it. And I kind of feel that I would get angry about it eventually. Like I watched the first episode of Rings of Power, and literally I wanted to go out the streets and just rip the buildings down with my bare hands. That's how angry I was watching it. I didn't watch anymore. It was an embarrassment to Tolkien's name. Even the right, it's not even like the political stuff, the ideological stuff. It's just the writing was terrible. Where are all the good writers gone? I guess the good writers are maybe this video is going on for ages. You need something to listen to at work. Maybe the good writers are being suppressed, you know, because it's funny because my wife was telling me something the other day. She said, I did this and I got an email back from this company, this quite a big company actually in the UK, saying you got to change this. And I was like, what? This is ridiculous. But that's kind of where we are. You know, if you, I'm not sure what it's like in other countries, but in the UK, you put the TV on and all the TV is the same. Anyone, when I say edgy, anyone that thinks even slightly differently have been removed from British television, UK television, and now everyone thinks the same. It's a shame, because celebrity now is a business of being dishonest, because there's no way that everyone on TV or in films or whatever it is thinks the same way. So there are certain people out there who are having to be dishonest to themselves and to us, because they're saying what they feel they've got to say. There was an incident recently with a footballer called Jordan Henderson, who in the past has come out supporting LGBT stuff and all that kind of thing. But he's recently gone to Saudi Arabia to play football, and he's getting a load of crap for that. Well, obviously, I'd imagine he would rather play football than get involved politically. But his PR people and all that kind of stuff has said, oh, you're the captain of Liverpool, so can you come out and say this and whatnot? Maybe he thinks it, maybe not. But I would imagine he probably would rather not do it, because in the future, as has happened now, these things come back and bite you on the arse. Yeah, it's just one of those things. I don't know what to say about it, really. It's like... but yeah, showbiz is the business of being dishonest at the moment for some people, because they're just, it's almost like they have to say stuff to support certain things, even if they don't support them or they feel that it's not the right thing to do. But I don't know. That's where we are. But anyway, the point of that waffle was that I've kind of always wanted to do some stuff on it, particularly since Tolkien's work has come under fire from it. Because I have to confess, it's not just the political stuff. Like, I'm extremely anal about Tolkien. Like Tolkien's works got me through some really tough times as a kid and as a teenager, and so they're precious to me, shall we say. And even I can't watch The Hobbit. It's a steaming pile of smeg. The Return of the King got all the laudits and whatnot. A steaming pile of smeg. If you change stuff, you're in trouble, as far as I'm concerned. It's like I always wanted to play those Lord of the Rings games where you play a ranger, single player games where you play a ranger and you go around. I quite like the idea of having like these nemesis orc people and stuff, but I just can't play it. I'm looking at it and I think, this is not Lord of the Rings. What's going on here? Why has this ranger got like some special sight or something or whatever it is, and all this magic? No thanks. It'd be the same with Amazon's Lord of the Rings. Body type. Well, no, that's not Tolkien's world. If you're creating Tolkien's world, stick to it. You say men, basically. But there you go. That's not how it's going to be. Looking at New World as well. I mean, the New World is pumped full of all this stuff. So I've got no doubt that this is going to be as well. It's funny because I think the director recently came out and said, we're going to stick to Tolkien's work, but I think they used the word, whenever they say we're going to develop it for modern audiences, that's when you know you're in trouble. The weird thing is that I'm a modern audience. What does that mean? If they mean people in a bubble on Twitter, well, that's not really an audience. That's just a small group of people. That's just a minority who are vocal morons on Twitter. And it's actually been proven in the past that these activists on Twitter, don't actually even watch the content. There was a couple of famous ones where I think it was a Marvel film was one of them, where they were giving it the big one on Twitter, and someone asked them some questions about it, and they said, well, I haven't actually seen it. I said, well, you're being an activist on Twitter and you're moaning about this stuff, but you haven't actually seen it. These people are not spending the money. The modern audience is still someone like me who loves this stuff and who's passionate about it. When I say modern audience, this is an excuse to change it to insert their own ideology. They say we're changing it for modern audience because it's like they need an excuse for what they're doing, and that's the excuse that they come up with. And if you don't like it, then you're a bigot of some kind. And interesting. But there you go. As I said, some of the things, some stuff that I see, if it was done correctly, would have been really interesting like 10, 20 years ago. But now it's all you see. And when showrunners and stuff actually come out and say, yeah, this is why we're doing it, we're pushing our crap, then I think you get pushback. I'm trying to kind of change my perspective a bit, because I'm the sort of person, I did become a bit hypersensitive to it. So like even the real hardcore channels that hate this stuff, like watched One Piece and liked it. But I watched the first 10, 15, 20 minutes and I just turned off the episode because it just felt like the same crap. I mean, I've read quite a lot of the One Piece manga. I went back and read the first couple of books and stuff. And I was seeing what they've done to some of the characters. And I think, oh, here we go. You know, people are saying it's a good show, but it's still got the same crap in it. So I can't become hypersensitive to it. So I'm trying to rein myself back so I can watch stuff again and enjoy it if the writing's good and stuff and that kind of thing. But that stuff is kind of few and far between. It's very rare to find that kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, that's it, guys. It's nearly an hour, this video. I've got found an hour's of gaming footage to put to this. I might have to go onto Qualm and just record an hour of me playing that, and then do it. I need something that's not going to take up loads of, like 50 gigabytes of video storage. But anyway, thanks for watching. I guess the ultimate thing is that the channel's not dead, and I'm trying to think of things to do that might be quite interesting, might grow the channel, but I'm not sure what that is or if it's even possible. But thanks for sticking with me for this long through the video. Maybe you found it interesting. I don't know. I don't generally listen through my videos, which just goes to show you, it goes to tell you something. Maybe you shouldn't either. I don't know. Beyond kind of skipping through just to make sure that the audio sounds like it's all going right through the video. Anyway, I'm going to stop now. I'm just waffling. I'll finish from a gaming point of view actually. So I played Diablo 4, as some of you know. I played Baldur's Gate 3, which I didn't finish because I got quite annoyed towards the end. I played through Starfield, and I was just playing through Cyberpunk. And I have to say that my kind of my levels for game enjoyment have not reached the heights of any of those games as much as I thought they would. And I think maybe a small bit of that is to do with me, and I think it's mostly to do with just game development in 2023. From an MMO point of view, I don't know, like New World has just had an expansion come out. That looks really interesting. So I reinstalled that yesterday and patched it up. Project Qualm, it's funny with EverQuest, like, I'm not sure if anyone else has this who's not playing P99 or Calm or TACP, whatever it may be. But when I think about EverQuest, I want to play it. But then when I log in, I'm finding that my enthusiasm for it is not as high as it was. When I watch someone playing it, I think, I want to go and do that. I think what I need to do is get a character over that first bump. Because I think I've reached a point where I'm finding the initial bump just a bit boring. Not grindy, because I can sit here with the best of them and just kill the same mob over and over again to level up, just a bit boring, and I want to get onto the interesting stuff. So maybe that's what I need to do. Yeah, it's funny. I'm not sure if anyone else has that. If anyone who used to play EverQuest on P99 has stopped playing and you go back to it because you watch someone else playing it or you think about it and you think, oh, what a great game EverQuest is. And obviously it is. But then when you get into it, you kind of think to yourself, actually, maybe it's run its course, And I know that there are people, and I'm quite envious of them sometimes, who EverQuest is their game and that's all they play. And that's great because it is if I was on Desert Island, I would still take EverQuest with me to play. Desert Island discs, you only got one game, it will be EverQuest. Probably, maybe only up till Velius, up till Pop. If I could still have all the old models, I'd be happy with that. But with the P99 interface, I think, because although on Qualm you can scroll in and out, the mouse movement is still not great in that. Yeah, but I'm not sure if anyone else has had that. And obviously I've still got all the MMOs installed, and I think about going back to them, but I really don't. I kind of log in to one every now and again, but don't really get much from it, and so just drop out. Yeah, it's weird with MMOs because what you see, apart from some characters that I didn't record with because I just wanted to play them on my own, what you see on the channel over the last, since the channel's been going, has pretty much been what I've been gaming on, mostly MMOs. And then I kind of come out of the MMO tunnel, and I apart from games that I always go back to once a year, like Deus Ex and some of the old classic games, it's mostly just MMOs. But I came out of that tunnel and into this big open world of single player games that I started to catch up on. But now I kind of want to get back into the MMO tunnel again, but there just isn't a game that's grabbing me. Particularly in the winter. I know someone said it the other day, and I've said it before, that as the winter comes around, I kind of find myself wanting to play an MMO more, but I just can't find one that clicks at the moment. I know if I play New World, that will click, because the thing I enjoy the most about playing MMOs, other than EverQuest, because EverQuest I love all the mechanics and stuff and the way they interact, but outside of that, like New World I love for the exploration. I never get bored of it, but I get bored of the combat. That's kind of why I stopped playing. But I know if I play through New World again, play through the expansion, I really enjoy it. Lord of the Rings Online is something that I need to get back to. I keep thinking to myself, I'd love to do a video series on that, but I don't know what to do on it. I don't just want to do a playthrough. What I wanted to do was do some immersive stuff. So with Starfield, I started recording some video of some immersive shots that I'd found, and I was going to put them all together and stuff. And I thought that would be quite interesting. I wanted to do that as well. I wanted to do like a journey through Middle Earth, not necessarily following the Fellowship. I kind of did a video series like that before, and that was really popular. But just through the game, so starting off in the low level areas as you level up, and you move into other areas, and you just take scenes of the game and you try and refer them back to the book and that kind of thing. That might be quite interesting. But that's it really. Recently I've played through Fallout 1, and I kind of started Fallout 2. Do you know what my favourite game, and it's been my favourite game for quite some time, is the Gamma mod for Stalker. I was going to say the Gamma mod for Stalker. The Gamma mod is for Gamma is for Stalker Anomaly, which is a mod in itself. But the Gamma mod, Stalker is one of the most immersive games I've ever played, and Gamma kind of turns it into an open world, immersive, like literal sim, and it's the most immersive game I've ever played, and I always go back to that. And I want to do a proper playthrough of that recently because I updated it. If you like hardcore survival games, particularly if you like first person shooters, and Stalker Gamma is just unbelievable. It looks fantastic actually, because there's quite a lot of visual modding going on. It is still like quite an old engine, so it can be a bit janky, but from an immersion point of view, it's just phenomenal. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to stop now. I've had enough. I've worn myself out. Thanks for watching, listening, wherever you're at work, whatever it may be. Thanks.